The second topic under the chapter Government Budget and the Economy is this. It is significance of government budget. What is the importance of government budget for an economy? Why does every government prepare a budget? So that is what I have selected 5 points as the significance, the most important points which highlight the significance of government budget. And this is a very important topic because most often question from this part used to come for 4 marks. So it's a very important topic. So 5 most important 5 points which highlight the importance of government budget are: number 1, government budget is prepared because government budget helps in GDP growth. Secondly, the government budget helps in the proper allocation of resources. So, significance of government budget are GDP growth, allocation of resources. Thirdly, by preparing the budget, we can reduce the inequalities in income and wealth. Fourthly, there are 2 extreme economic situations in an economy, that is inflation and deflation. Through the budget, we can solve the problem of inflation and deflation. So, for controlling inflation and deflation, the budget will be helpful. And the last one is this, it's a balanced regional development. By or through the government budget, we can achieve the objective of balanced regional development. Let us learn one by one. What are the different objectives of government budget? The first objective of government budget is the government budget is prepared in order to achieve the objective of GDP growth. Okay, so you have to understand what is GDP. GDP means gross domestic production. It is the total production in the economy. Total production, the money value of all the goods and services produced in the economy. And the GDP growth, when the total production in the economy increases over the years, it points out to the economic growth. It points to the fact that the economy is growing, developing. So, through GDP growth, what we can achieve? We can achieve economic growth. So, GDP growth as well as economic growth points out to the same thing. Through the growth in GDP, our economy also gets developed. The economic growth occurs. Now, how this government budget helps in GDP growth? Let us understand that. So, for that, you have to know, you have to remember what is this budget that I have said already. This budget is a financial statement of what are the government revenue. What are the different sources of income to the government? From which source, what amount of income will be generated in the next accounting year? And then, what are the different sources of expenditure to the government? That means, on which items the government is required to spend money. So, the different items on which the government spends money is listed out. Such a statement is known as budget. So, while preparing this budget, government takes into consideration that the government will spend money on such areas, on such items which will help in the development of the economy. Say for example, the expenditure of the government spend more money on the construction of dams, construction of railway lines, roads, construction of industries. The government spend money on providing subsidies to the people, to the producers. Government spend money on providing subsidy to the farmers. The government spent money on providing MSP, minimum support price, to the farmers. Like that, on different and varied items, the government spent money. So on those items, when the government spends money, then it will help in the production in the economy. Both industrial production and agricultural production will be increased, will be boosted in the economy when the government does so many activities like this. Say for example, government construct dam. Government spend money on the construction of a dam. It has a very direct effect on farming. The area where the dam is constructed, those areas, the farmers get a regular supply of water for irrigation. So what does that show? That shows that the expenditure by the government has improved or helped to improve agriculture. Like that, government provide subsidy to the production, to the industrial production, to certain entrepreneurs. The government provide subsidy. Even government provide land at a low rate to some people who start their industries in the backward regions. So the industries will be set up there, and when the industries are set up, that boosts up the industrial production in the economy. What does GDP show? GDP show total production in the economy. So through these expenditures of the government, what is improved? Both the industrial production and the agricultural production are improved. So through these items of expenditure, through these expenditures made by the government, by including these kinds of expenditure in the budget, the government is promoting the production in the economy. When production increase, the production of agriculture, production of industries increase, it contribute to the GDP growth of the economy. When GDP growth increase, when the gross domestic production increases over the years, that will ultimately lead to the economic growth. So this is how the government budget helps in GDP growth. Okay, that means in the government budget, there are different areas of expenditures are incorporated. So government spends money on various developmental activities like construction of dams, railway lines, roads, provision of subsidies, etc. All of these areas of expenditures have a direct impact on the industrial and agricultural production. Because of such expenditures by the government, the production in the economy increase. When both agricultural and industrial production increase, the GDP also increase. When GDP increase, that shows the economic growth of the economy. Now, the second objective of the government budget is what? It is allocation of resources. That is the second objective of government budget. The government prepares the budget for the allocation of resources. So you have to understand the meaning of allocation of resources. Allocation of resources means putting the resources into various uses, allocating the resources. That means distributing the resources. Every economy in the world has different resources. As far as India is concerned, India is endowed with many natural resources and human resources. So, in order to use these resources in a proper manner, without wasting the resources, without wasting them, the budget preparation is important. We have to decide. Once we decide what are the areas of revenue to the government, what are the areas of income to the government, the income to the government reflects the resources. Once we decide the areas of revenue to the government, we have to very clearly, wisely utilize this revenue to various items of expenditure. Once this is not prepared, the proper use of the resources is not possible. For the proper use of the resources of the economy, for the proper use of the revenue generated in the economy, we also have to list out the various items of expenditure, on which areas the government need to spend money, on which areas the government need not. This decisions and this preparation is very important. So, by preparing the budget, actually what the government is doing, government is using the resources of the economy into various uses, various expenditures or various uses. Through that, the resources are properly allocated. The resources are not wasted but are properly allocated into various uses, which will help in the development of the economy. Now, the third objective or significance of government budget is this. What is that? You can see it. It is reduction in the inequalities of income and wealth. That is, by preparing the budget, the inequalities in income and wealth can be reduced. That is what it is said. Reduction in inequalities of income and wealth. That is the significance of government budget. As you know, inequalities of income and wealth. What does that mean? Inequalities of income and wealth. What does that mean? The income and wealth are not equal. Inequalities of income and wealth. That means it is the income and wealth are not equally distributed in the economy. That's the meaning of this inequalities of income and wealth. You can see in our economy, there are a large section of people who are extremely poor and a small section of people who are extremely rich. This economic divide, this is known as economic divide, and this economic divide is very clearly found in our country. This economic divide is very clearly found in our country, and this situation is known as inequalities of income and wealth. Inequality means not equal. Income and wealth. That is, with respect to income and wealth of the people are not equal. So, there is a very high difference between the people with regard to income and wealth. A small section of society are there who are extremely rich, whereas a large section of society are there who are very extremely poor. And it is said through the government budget, we can achieve the objective of redistribution of income. Redistribution of income. That is known as reduction in the inequalities of income and wealth. Redistribution of income. How? See, a government budget has, we already know that the government budget has two sections. Revenue and expenditure. These are the two parts of government budget. Revenue and expenditure. Revenue means the different sources of income to the government. The main source of income to the government is through taxes. Taxes are the main source of income to the government. And expenditure, there are various innumerable number of expenditures the government incur. Now, the taxes, the government raises fund for its activities through tax. But the government also use this tax as a measure to reduce this inequalities of income and wealth. How? In our country, India, the government uses a measure called progressive taxation. A measure called progressive taxation. Progressive taxation means taxing highly the rich than the poor. According to our increase in income, when our income increases, the taxes also will increase. And this is known as progressive taxation. So, also not only that, there are high taxes on the luxury items, not on the items of common consumption. On the luxury items also, the taxes are high. So what we can say, there is progressive taxation in our country. So the rich people are, whoever is earning higher income are taxed highly in our country. So through this measure, what the government tried to achieve, tried to reduce the inequalities in income and wealth. Not only that, the government spent expenditure on innumerable number of items, which I said it. So many items the government spent money on. So, in order to lift the poor out of poverty, government spent money on various items like provision of subsidies to the poor people, provision of food grains at a nominal price, provision of education allowance to the poor students, running of government schools, government hospitals. Like that, different types of subsidies the government provides. There are ration shops run by the government in which the poor people get food grains, rice, wheat, sugar, edible oil, etc. at a nominal price. So the government spend money on providing all these things so that the poor can be lifted out of poverty. On the other hand, the rich people are taxed highly so that the unequal distribution of income can be corrected to a certain extent. So in this manner, through the taxation policy, through the expenditure policy of the government tried to reduce the inequalities of income and wealth. That is another objective of government budget. Now, the fourth objective of government budget is this. It is known as controlling inflation and deflation. Controlling inflation and deflation. We have learned already in our previous classes what is inflation and what is deflation. Inflation and deflation are the very extreme economic situations. Inflation and deflation. Okay, inflation very commonly known as a general increase in the price level, whereas deflation is a general decrease in the price level. These two are extreme economic situations and these two are very bad for any economy in the world. Inflation as well as deflation. So inflation occurs because the money supply in the economy has increased. The money supply has increased. Because of that, inflation occurs, whereas money supply decrease. Because of that, deflation has occurred. Okay, so whenever there is inflation and deflation, in order to control that, government uses this budgetary tool of taxation and expenditure. Taxation. Why did I say taxation? Because the budget has two parts: revenue, income, and expenditure. And what is the main source of income? taxes. Taxes are the main source of income to the government. So through the taxation and through expenditure, the government try to control this inflation and deflation and try to bring economic stability. Economic stability. Whenever these two extreme situations are there, it is said there is economic instability. But through these policies of taxation and expenditure, government try to control this. Say for example, inflation. Money supply is more. People are having more liquid cash. The liquidity of the people is high. So what the government wants to do? Government wants to reduce the money supply. So in that case, the government will increase the taxes so that the liquidity of the people can be soaked. On the other hand, deflation. Money supply is less. People are not having money. That's the reason the demand for goods are less. So more money has to be pumped into the economy. For that, government starts spending more. In order to generate more money into the economy, government starts spending more. How the spending occur? The spending occur in this manner. That is, government will start construction activities. The government will start constructing roads, railway lines, bridges, etc. Through that, more and more people get job opportunities. Government also provide subsidy to set up industrial establishments, small scale units. This is done to generate employment so that income will be generated. When income is generated, money is pumped into the economy. More people are having more money, so that their spending capacity will increase. So through this expenditure policy, the deflation is corrected, and through the taxation policy, the inflation is corrected. So because of that, we say the government budget is also used to bring economic stability in the economy. Economic stability in the economy. This taxation and expenditure are the tools of government. These are the budgetary tools of the government. And the last one, it is the balanced regional development. Balanced regional development. This is the last one, significance of government budget, balanced regional development. You can yourself understand this. Balanced regional development. Regional development. Development of different regions. Balanced. Balanced means equal. Equal development of all the regions. That's the meaning of balanced regional development. Equal development of all the regions of the economy. That is what balanced regional development. How government budget fulfills this balanced regional development? You know, budget has two sections, revenue, expenditure. These are the two components of budget. And in the expenditure part, the government incur crores of money as expenditure on various activities. So, government selects those areas or backward regions to spend its money on. So, more and more money is spent on developing the backward areas. Even government provides subsidies to those entrepreneurs who start their business establishments in the backward regions. So all these type of expenditures help in the development of the backward regions and fulfills the objective of balanced regional development. So that is what about the significance of government budget. Significance of government budget. Anybody, if you are having any doubt about this, you can leave a comment for this. I'll clear your doubts. So significance of government budget. These are the importance of government budget. Government budget helps in GDP growth. Government budget helps in allocation of resources for various uses. Proper allocation of resources without wasting them. Government budget helps in reducing the inequalities of income and wealth. The economic divide between rich and poor can be reduced to a certain extent. Fourthly, it helps government budget also act as a tool to control inflation and deflation, the taxation and the expenditure policies of the government. And the last one, this budget also helps in the balanced regional development of all the regions of the economy in an equal manner.